got the cost to prove that police can abuse their power anytime that they want against an at-risk adult. They can harm an at-risk adult whenever they want. They can lie about an at-risk adult whenever they want. The same thing with Amanda Jonas of Longmont Police Department. They can do whatever they want, whenever they want. The thing is, this evidence needed to be seen. It needed to be looked at. I was treated horribly by law enforcement for trying to turn in my predators, for trying to show this evidence. And the people who claimed to love me, the people who were a part of this situation, the ones who wanted to promise that they were going to help me and then just talk over me and over me and over me. Only what they had to say mattered. Finding out what was going on did not matter. Now, let me tell you something about the lady who came here to help me today. It needed to be a three-way phone call, not her talking on the phone to the person. And of course, I recorded it as always. It's recorded on my clandestine recording device because there was going to be some private information in it. Now, that lady don't mean no harm, but she was here for about an hour and a half. I could have given her a quick lowdown so that she's understanding of the situation, so she knows the roadblocks. She didn't know the roadblocks. I'm hoping that the next time I see her, she'll actually take the time to listen to the roadblocks. A lot of times people get, here's what happens. They get anxiety because they're in a rush. So because they have that anxiety and they're in a rush, they're going to spend 25 to 30 minutes talking about their anxiety and why they're in a rush. So you got to cut that time right off the top. If they're going to be here for an hour and a half and they're going to spend 30 minutes to get right off the top, basically what they're doing, they're letting you know they have anxieties, they have things of their own to do. And, you know, she was awful sweet about it. But that's also 25 minutes that we're addressing her anxiety. And also there's her family who is here waiting. And of course that increases my anxiety. And then there's also the fact that, you know, 25 minutes of talking about your anxiety is a lot. I also understand the people that you get to talk to in the average day. And that when you find somebody who's not completely crazy, somebody who's not strung out on drugs, somebody who's not drunk, someone who you can talk to, you know, you do want to do that talking. For me, that's one of the things that makes it so that, well, there's a lot of stuff that's other people's personal business. That includes their anxieties, their reasons why they couldn't, their reasons why they weren't able to, their reasons why they were late, their reasons why it's taken so long. But there's a lot of stuff that, you know, I could have let her know in about 5 minutes the basic roadblocks are. And if she needed a further explanation, I could give it to her, but she needed to know those things before. Basically, I've got until the first. There's a bunch of roadblocks that this guy that she talked to needed to be aware of, but she was talking to him on the phone. It wasn't on speakerphone, so I didn't get him recorded. It's just her and I that are recorded. So we can't even hear what he's saying. And the point is that I can't keep these things to myself, and the longer it takes for people to listen to what's going on, and of course, I'm trying not to be rude. I need to listen to me. She's under the impression that I'm the one that needs to listen, and she tells me a whole bunch of things I already know. A bunch of stuff I already know. And then she wants to do the thing where she asks if I've gone to this place, I've gone to that place. And then she wants to say, I promise. Please don't ever say you promise. Because without knowing the situation, and she doesn't know the situation, I didn't get to explain to her those things. And that is because of her anxiety. And her anxiety is, well, it's justified. She does have her own life to live. She does have her own stuff that she needs to take care of. The thing is that when somebody tells me what their what their roadblocks are and that their time is limited, they don't have to say it for that long. That right there gives me a lot more anxiety, because then, like, I've heard you the first time. I'm not retarded. When you suggest that I do stuff, well, you should find out if I've done them or not. And of course, she did have a place to go to that helped her out. The Center for Living is shit. Everybody agrees on that. We don't have social workers here in Hood River. We're supposed to, but instead we have the Center for Living, and the Center for Living helps out the cops. That's what they do. There's a lot of different services. People want to insist, Sean, you need to go here, you need to go there. Are you going to help me? Are you going to help me find the place? Are you going to show me where it's at? I have anxiety about going anywhere. My speedometer doesn't work. This is all stuff that I'd like to be able to explain. But if I try to explain that, then I'm only going to get halfway through a sentence before someone's telling me, well, you can go back roads, or you can do... No. I am having anxiety now at this point because I'm not able to say anything, and I already know that that's what I'm going to encounter. And it's not out of rudeness or, like she's a mean person. She does want to help, legit. But the other thing is, like with many people, I don't want to post her personal business on the internet. There's also the fact that if she's not able to help for whatever reason, that doesn't detract from the fact that what the cops said, which is pretty fucked up, is completely untrue in all these cases. And I need somebody who will actually understand that these roadblocks are in place. Something needs to be done about them first. Before I can get housing, I need help to turn in my predators. Before I can turn in my predators, I need housing. I need an address before I can have mail sent to me. But then I need mail sent to me in order to get the address. The public pretenders, they know which ways they can and cannot contact me. And instead of trying to contact me in the way that they know works, they ignore me outright and then send that stuff to the one way that they know is not going to work. I need help doing it instead of being abused financially and physically and emotionally and psychologically. As far as all of the abuse that I endured in the prisons and in the jails, I did endure a lot of abuse from the other inmates. I really did. But that abuse was because of the guards. The guards were told to fuck with me, so they fucking did. And they just kept on doing it. Kept on fucking with me and lying to me and changing their story. But then again, there's no recording devices in those places, is there? No, there's not. There's no audio recording. What those guys do is they antagonize the shit out of inmates. And then they go and have a hands-on section. That's where they actually go and get a camera that'll record the audio. That's when they go and get that. And when you're trying to explain to the supervisor who is supposed to do something about the abuse, that supervisor abuses you for the things that you literally had to do to get the supervisor there. And then they blow you off. They lie to you repeatedly. They tell you that when one of their officers gets busted committing crimes against an inmate, like they did repeatedly to me, oh, well, I talked to him. No. Talking to him is not good enough. You need to write it the fuck down. They abused an inmate. Not only that, a non-convict. I wasn't convicted of anything. I was a county safety. What they did is felonious on a federal level. So that lady today making the call for me without knowing what's going on, no, that is the exact wrong thing to do. Good intentions, yes. Bad follow through. 5 minutes of listening instead of pounding anxiety onto me. And she didn't mean to pound that anxiety onto me. It wasn't like she was trying to be mean. But I'm not allowed to have anxiety. I'm not allowed to have it. And thank goodness this lady allowed me to have just one moment of anxiety where I did snap at her. You know, I didn't call her names or be mean or rude or inconsiderate or anything like that. I didn't stop and listen. Now, part of Southern culture is a lot of fucking lip service. And it's not like she intends it to be that way. It's the way that she was taught. I know that if I have somebody who moves from the South and they move to Nebraska or Colorado or any place like that, chances are pretty good that I'm going to talk to them and a lot of other people won't. And I'm going to listen for a really long time, a lot longer than I would listen to somebody else. And that's not just an autistic trait, that's also a please let's not waste time trait. If you've said something, you don't have to say it 30 times. However, if you're going to say something 30 times to me that I have already told you I'm not capable of doing, and every time I try to explain you why, you want to talk over me, it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to help me. You need to know what's going on. So I had anxiety while she was on the phone, and I had to step away a couple of times. I mean, there's a way to do it, and that's not it. You have to record every call. You have to record every word. People will change their story later on if they don't want to get in trouble, if they did something wrong, if they did something immoral, if they did something illegal. They're not going to fucking admit to it. You have to have it recorded. That's the reason for having someone else there. And also that person has to be informed. You know, that's one of the things about trying to inform her of the roadblocks. I don't have to give her the full story on all the roadblocks, but I do need her to understand them so that she doesn't give false information to somebody and get something in the works that we can't get in the works yet. The guy that she talked to, I need to be able to talk to that guy. Now, she did apparently get it set up so that they're going to do the services for me. That's not going to work. They have to have me involved in a situation. It has to be recorded, and those people that she talked to have to know the information that I needed to tell her that she wasn't hearing. She wasn't hearing because I was being too nice and allowing her to express things. And I also know that if you don't allow people, especially Southern folks, to do that expressive stuff, that is considered an insult, especially in the Deep South. So I don't want to step on her toes culturally. I don't want to make her feel like what she's doing is bad. It's not bad, it's just wrong. And not wrong as in you're a bad person for doing it. It's wrong as in you need to be informed before you can help someone. My story is extremely complicated. Now, I was trying to explain that to her while she was here, and it got to the point where I had to realize that it's not going to happen. She was going to tell me about her anxieties anytime I tried to explain what was going on. I needed to be able to explain to her the situation so she's aware. She showed up and asked me about paperwork. I have paperwork. I've got all sorts of stuff for her to do, all this stuff that she wants to do to help me. And I am grateful for that. She's, basically trying to turn me on to this other service to help them out. And they're going to help me to do all those things, but they're not going to be able to do anything until next week. So then we're going to do something apparently tomorrow about my food stamps. The problem is the roadblocks that are there going through these things will cut me off from everything that I need. I will have to relicense my vehicle here. I will have to get an address here. And the problem is that Hood River is not a safe place for me because of what the police here and the sheriff's department and of course the state troopers have already done. They've done the same thing they did in Nebraska. The same lies, the same bullshit. State Patrol is saying it's not their job to police the police. No, it absolutely is. That is their job. In the case of corruption in these police forces, yes, it is absolutely their job, and they're not going to take it seriously. This is why we've got all these at-risk adults out here being abused like a motherfucker by the police and the public. Each one of these cowards wants to step off and fucking be a bitch unless it's focused on them. You're only going to focus on me. I'm not going to help anyone else out but me. I'm not going to do anything to actually help out my situation. I'm just going to bitch. And that's the thing about this lady, is that they're not just bitching. They're actually trying with their own situation. They're also actively trying to be a part of bettering the community and helping those who need it. I mean, we've got two community liaison folks here, one of them who's homeless and one of them who ain't. One of them's a meth head and one of them ain't. And I've been told that the one that's not a meth head is not worth a shit. Don't go to her. You want to go to the one who does do meth. She'll actually help. She'll actually do the job. The other lady doesn't know shit about anybody's situation. She's never been in that situation. She comes from an upper middle class white family, and apparently she was I don't know what the fuck a majorette is. Some of you guys might be able to explain that. I don't know. Now this is all coming from people on the streets, and for the most part their information is reliable. It's also a matter of which one you talk to. Some of them are going to have more reliable information than others. Some of them are going to tell you a whole bunch of numbers and gibberish, but they're going to know exactly where to send you for the Center for Living. But they also all complain about the Center for Living. And they say, well, the Center for Living is the only place you can go. And I say, well, if the Center for Living is the only place that I can go, do they help anyone? No, not really. Well, what do they do? Oh, well, you know, when you try to tell on the cops, they take you to the Center for Living, and the Center for Living puts a rubber stamp on you. Oh, okay. I get it now. They're like Clearview. It's not behavioral health. It's protecting the public's money at that point. Because if it's exposed what these cops do to the homeless every day, just like in Boulder, this is nationwide, then people are going to be screaming for blood. They're going to be taking people's heads. Oh, they don't want help. They don't want help. No, you aren't helping them how they need. You are giving them help that is costly. Let's take a look at the situation with Victoria Thakchik. All right, she's a mother who had to live in a vehicle with her child because of cost of living. That ain't easy. And then, of course, she's told that she's got to go to this food bank. There's this food bank that this is part of her terms for being able to keep her kid. She's got to go to this food bank that's run by a church. Now, it's run by a church, but they're given government funds for running this food bank. And you're allowed $50 a month. The problem is that where Victoria could actually park her vehicle without getting harassed by the cops, because she was living out of her vehicle, and where the food bank was, there was quite a distance between the two. But then there's the fact that the church, because it's run by a church, they want to require that you go to 4 meetings with the church per month. It's costing her $50 worth of gas and services to go to these meetings, each one. That's $200 a month. Now, lucky for her, she doesn't have to go another day, a 5th day during the month, to get that $50 worth of food. But my question is, how is a woman who is living in a vehicle, who is ordered to go to services that cost her $200 a month in order to get $50 worth of food? No, you are ripping her off for $150 a month, plus her time. Plus her time. It's kind of like the people of Oregon thinking it's this big, great fucking idea to do this recycling thing for 10 cents a can. But then you see how fucking difficult it is, how many calories it takes, especially in hot fucking weather. Holy hell. What did I average out? Like $1.12, $1.13, something like that per hour for those cans. And that's given the fact that half of those cans, maybe even over half of those cans, were literally just sitting there on the side of the Sinclair because somebody wanted to turn them in and wasn't allowed, or they showed up too late to turn them in and didn't want to carry them anymore. Going all the way to Walmart to try to turn stuff in because it's a pain in the butt elsewhere. There's different rules elsewhere. Oh, well, you have to have cans that are bought from this store or it doesn't work. Really? Why is that? Why does it have to be cans that are bought from your store? Why is there a limit on the amount of cans that people can turn in? Well, part of that is because the room that they have for the recyclables at the Sinclair. Walmart's different. They got a big ass dumpster. But then standing in line for, what was I in line for? An hour and a half? Waiting on people. They could have sent a worker out there. In 5 minutes, he could have counted all the cans and all the bottles and written out the receipt because they end up doing that anyway. They make these homeless people go through this fucking machine knowing the thing doesn't fucking work. And then you got rude assholes who pretend that they don't speak English because they want to cut in front of you in line. Oh, I didn't know I was cutting in front of you in line. And I'm going to pretend that I still don't know that I'm cutting in front of you in line because I, of course, am pretending I don't speak English. And that's rude. Now, most of the Hispanic people here are good to me, thank goodness. But you know what? There's rude assholes in every group. And of course, that takes longer. I'm not going to have a confrontation at Walmart over some fucking $3.40 worth of aluminum cans. You got to be shitting me. So yeah, it probably would have been like closer to $1.30 or $1.40 per hour, all said and done, if I hadn't allowed somebody else to go ahead of me. Well, mostly it was because he just pushed his cart in front of mine, but you know, that's not something that everybody does. And there was a lady there who fucking bitched him out, but of course, no English. And yes, he could speak English. He spoke English to the guy who pushed the carts. He assumed that the guy who pushed the carts spoke Spanish, and the guy who pushed the carts is just dark-skinned. He's not Mexican. He's not from Puerto Rico. He's not from Cuba. He's not from South America. He's American. He speaks English, and that's it. So the guy that didn't speak no English, he was of course speaking English to that guy because he wanted help with the can machine. And I listened to it, and I didn't cause a problem, and I didn't cause a commotion, and I wasn't a jerk. I went about doing something else as soon as I was done with turning in those cans, mainly filming the garbage that was there. So now that we're 23 minutes into it, this is the best part. Once I get a ways into my videos, a lot of people won't listen to the end. They abort. I got to take a lot of people to court. A lot of people who knew that they were breaking the law, were well aware that they were breaking the law, and did it spitefully and repeatedly. Well, I do have to show their involvement in the situation. I do have to show the truth. Also, if you're going to scam a disabled person, no, you don't have any rights anymore. You should be in prison. But of course, because I'm disabled, even though there are laws that are set in place that are supposed to protect me from exactly this situation, those rights are not observed. I'm not the right gender for them to be observed. I didn't murder people for the United States government in foreign countries, so I don't get any, care in the world on that. Are you a veteran? No. So there's all this stuff that makes you less of a person in the government's eyes, and less of a person in the court's eyes, and less of a person. Fuck no. You know what the point in all this is? Let's pretend for a moment that these officers were able to diagnose me as schizophrenic, and that I actually was schizophrenic. Ooh. Does that make it okay to commit those crimes against me? Does it? If I were schizophrenic, Would that make it okay to commit crimes against me? The answer is no. But this is their excuse for not doing anything, for looking the other way. This is why I can't make these phone calls alone. The phone calls have to be recorded, and the person making them with me at least has to have a base understanding of what's going on. And for me to have to text it, that gives me 10 times more anxiety. And when I have to try to make time later on to explain it to you because you were busy talking a lot, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm trying to get information shared. You need to know about the situation and the roadblocks first. Before you can help someone, you need to know what's going on. Before you jump onto something and start jumping through hoops for help that is not going to help someone. Yes, this is the help that I need, but she needs to understand the roadblocks first instead of creating more. Now, she is not trying to create more, and I'm hoping that this person that she's hooking me up with or whatever, he's supposed to text me sometime today, and I'm hoping he does. Because if he does, then I can explain to him the situation myself instead of having to have her translate between him and I, except that she's already talking and explaining a situation as she believes it or assumes it to be, and she's completely wrong because she hasn't heard what's going on. The roadblocks with housing, she's telling me, oh, I promise they're gonna help you get housing. Well, you need to understand the roadblocks with the housing. You also need to understand the roadblocks with, of course, she does understand the roadblocks when it comes to the not having my birth certificate or my social security card. She does understand that, which is more of an understanding than most people have, because they're like, well, why don't you just get it sent to you? Holy Christ. You know, Officer Steinman repeatedly stole my ID, and every time he stole it, I had to go all the way back to Nebraska to get another one. There's a lot of shit like that that's a pain in the ass. For me, not having a steady place, a steady address, and not having a support network anywhere that I moved. No support network, just pretty words, just people taking advantage of me. And that's fucked up. People who claim that they love you and then they take advantage of you. And I understand with Amanda, part of her taking advantage of me is because she was feeling lonely. She was feeling separated from her husband, and she did separate from her husband when she thought she'd stand a chance with me. When she saw me in person, I'm not the man that she remembers me being, and of course not after all I've been through. But she claimed that she was going to help me, and then she told me that she couldn't because issues with the rental vehicle, and she apologized. Now, if that's the truth, if she told me the truth in that, she should have no problem speaking up and telling that in court. Her telling me that she won't even try to tell the truth now because, well, Nebraska is corrupt. Well, yeah, I have the evidence that Nebraska is corrupt. Help me turn them in. Instead of dumping your daughter off somewhere where you know that the cops are corrupt. Dumping her off. She's a at-risk adult now, and you're dumping her off in Nebraska. That's fucked up. I need to be allowed to show this evidence, and I need someone to stop and listen before jumping through 100 miles worth of hoops that aren't going to work. Now, that's not saying outright that it isn't going to work, but it's saying that if you are informed, you're not going to force us to jump through a bunch of crap that we already know isn't going to work. Kind of like with Marcia Estrada and Penny Cooper. Penny Cooper knew that jumping through the hoops for housing was beating a dead horse. When something was supposed to be done about that, it was Jen Beebe's job to do that, and she wouldn't do her job. As a result, yes, Megan Misigatis did do that. Megan Misigatis did all of the things that the courts ordered Jen Beebe to do, that Jen Beebe refused. The things that Nicole Peralta was court ordered to do, but they didn't call back, did they? How long did it take for Jen Beebe to finally return my call? Over 6 months, even. Sorry, over 5 months. How many times did I call? How many messages were left? money just on my YouTube alone. And then I have to go to their supervisors who blow me off, don't take it seriously, and make zero effort to collect evidence. They go out of their way to prey on the fact that I can't do that for them. I don't have a place to do it. I don't have the money to do it. Kind of like when the cops beat the shit out of you in jail or prison. They got a standing joke. Oh, you can get a lawyer when you get out. All these people giving shitty suggestions like, oh, you should get a pro bono lawyer. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. Someone has to be actively involved and take charge of that situation because I am not allowed. I'm not allowed. They get to deny me the right to do those things and then say that I didn't try. The thing about these people being angry that I post that shit up on the internet, that shit, their personal business, shows that number one, I told the truth. Number two, I told the truth. Number three, I'm being victimized for telling the truth. Number four, you did treat me the way that I said you treated me. Number five, you did do X and X and X or whatever. If you sent me money, I admitted that you sent me money. Now I got to deal with a far more complicated situation than you guys are even capable of understanding. So when I make a mistake and you want to treat me like shit, like I'm a horrible person, like I'm a terrible monster who's slandering your name, no, I'm absolutely not. If you want to fucking throw a tantrum over a mistake, that's your fucking problem. That shows that you are completely fucked in the head. That shows that you are mentally screwed up to the point that you are going to victimize somebody. And you need to be locked up. You need to be separated from society and prevented from doing that. Sarah Bacon and her violent tendencies, is that really help? Huh? What about Lanny Engeline and her manipulation? Oh yeah, Lanny Engeline still thinks that she's young and pretty with a huge chest. No, she's not. She's old and fat and flabby. But she's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, used to be pretty girl, and she feels entitled to that. Being turned down for sex. You know what? I'm allowed to turn you down. Lanny Engeline, I am allowed to turn you down for sex. It is not okay for you to harm me for that. Jamie Curtis, I'm allowed to turn you down for sex. It is not okay for you to harm me for that. Crystal Beauchamp, I am allowed to turn you down for sex. It is not okay for you to harm me for that. A lot of people had the right idea, but they talk about themselves a lot. And it's difficult for somebody like me who, I need you to shut up and listen, but I can't say shut up. Because then you go, oh, well, you're being rude. Or, hey, you need to listen to what I have to say. I spend all the time in the world listening to what people have to say because no matter what, they're going to interrupt me mid-sentence. And no, they don't mean any harm by it, and I have to forgive them. I get that. I have to forgive everyone. I have to be the forgiving one. I have to be the adult. I have to be the responsible one. Meanwhile, I'm the broke white man with no fucking rights, who can't take care of himself, can't protect himself, can't defend himself, and can't get heard without help. Meanwhile, all of my predators have help. I get lip service. I get miles and miles of what other people are going through. Well, I'm fine with that. But if you're here to help me, you need to listen to me. If you're going to show up to help me, we need to best utilize the time that we have. If you're going to be here for an hour and a half, we need to utilize at least 10 minutes of that with you getting familiar with what's going on. Getting familiar with the roadblocks. The roadblocks with housing and why they're there. The roadblocks with changing everything over to Oregon. The roadblocks that involve the legal issues that are being ignored. Oh, I can't do anything about that. I can't do. Anybody can do something about that. Anybody can look. Anybody can listen. But nobody has tried. That's the one thing that nobody has tried. Other than Mandy Singer, thank God. Mandy Singer was able to verify a whole bunch of stuff. Just the stuff that she verified is enough to show that I wasn't guilty of 90% of the stuff they played. Mandy Singer is a badass, and I'm grateful that she exists. Good to be with you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind.